there's something called the Law of Diffusion of Innovations, which Emmett Rogers codified, I think, back in the 60s. And really, every entrepreneur should learn it. Very simply, all populations sift across the standard deviation, the bell curve. And what the Law of Diffusion tells us is that the first 2.5% of our population are innovators, the next 12 or 13.5% of our population are early adopters, 34% are your early majority, next 34% are your late majority, and the last 16% are your laggards, right? Your laggards are the ones that, the only reason they buy, touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore, The early adopters are happy to take a risk. They're happy to trust their guts, to trust their intuition when they make decisions. The majority, more cynical, more practical, wants a little more proof, wants to know that price, quality, service, and features are all there. They care about those things. The early adopters, less so. Inconvenience is okay if they believe in what it is. These are the people who stand in line for hours to buy an iPhone when it comes out, well, you can just go in the store the following week and just buy one, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're the folks that are watching the first couple people eat the food, and if they don't keel over dead, then maybe I'll try it.
That's the majority. That would be the early majority, right? But it's the early adopters who are trying the food.
Yeah.
And so any entrepreneur that wants to have mass market success, what we usually do is aim at the majority, which is the place where we see the opportunity, the market. But the reality is the way that ideas spread, the way that things happen, the way that things become mass market is actually quite the opposite. Because the reason the early majority don't jump into something is they won't try something until somebody else has tried it first.
Right.
So what the Law of Diffusion tells us very simply is that, if you ignore it, everybody gets 10% of your customers or employees who just get it. That's how we describe them. But that's not enough to create a tipping point. To create a tipping point, you need to have between 15 and 18% market penetration. And that doesn't necessarily mean of the market, it means of the people who believe what you believe. So that means telling people about price, quality, service, and features, which is a terrible, hard game to play because it's a game of cat and mouse with the majority, doesn't work as effectively as telling the group of early adopters what you believe. And if they believe what you believe, they will be drawn to you. I'm obsessed with this little model, and it's responsible for the spread of even my work. I don't have a publicist. Neither of my books were reviewed by the New York Times, I have no sort of mass media reviews. I didn't hire anyone to go into Amazon and put fake things to drive up my ratings. It's all real. And the reason is because I never aimed at the majority. I always talk obsessively about what I believe. The way you introduced me, optimist, immediately you know what I stand for and what I believe, even before I've even said a word, So those who believe what I believe, those who imagine the world that I imagine are drawn to my work. And if they find it appealing, then they'll tell their friends about it. The same reason I told my friends about it. Because when we find something beautiful, we want to share it with the people we love. You see a good movie, call your friends and say, you got to see this movie.
Yeah.
Same thing. And if they find it, and so you have these people who are, by the way, have way more credibility than me or any marketing or any advertising or any journalist. When your friend says, you should read this, it's way more inspiring, way more trustworthy than anybody else.
Well, you have the context.
And that's the Law of Diffusion. And so I've been obsessed and continue to be about finding the people who believe what I believe, and those who say, prove to me why I should read your book, or prove to me why I should, listen to the stuff you say. And the answer is, don't. I'll get you later on. I never try to sell or convince someone that this is interesting. Those who get it are the ones that I'm more interested in.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots.